This video is an overview of my planning systems that I used in 2015. For a long time I was very happy in a bound planner from about 2009 to about 2013. But in 2014 life got a lot more complicated. Actually, fall of 2013 life got a lot more complicated, and the bound planner I had been using wasn't working anymore, and so I started looking at ring planner systems and the planner community that had started to sprout up online, and there were a whole lot of new options out there that I had not seen. So I started digging around and playing around, and 2014 I mostly stayed in Franklin Covey compact size Day-on 2-page, and there were a lot of things that worked about that, but there were a lot of things that didn't. So heading into 2015 I made the decision to continue to focus on scheduling my entire family in Apple's iCloud system using their calendar app. And anybody who uses Apple's system knows that their task system is not integrated with the calendar, and I personally feel quite kludgy. And I've tried to shoehorn myself into it, and it just doesn't work. I put some repeating reminders in there for bill payment, but other than that, I don't use it for ongoing tasks. So I started off 2015 thinking, okay, tasks is where I'm really struggling. I've got the schedule down. I've got it on my phone everywhere. I've got it on my iPad. I've got it all the places I can see it. Let's just figure out how to make tasks better. So I went out and purchased 2 planners. Actually, this one I already had. This is an 18-month Moleskine week on 2 pages, week plus notes, and I had used it off and on at work, and then I went out and bought the same style in pocket size and chopped it up and punched it for Filofax pocket size. And so I started off the year with my work stuff in here, and this is how I laid out the week. I split the week view in half and had more urgent stuff here, and I think deadline stuff over here. Maybe not, I don't know. I think these were things that my staff was responsible for, but I needed to make sure happened, and then things I needed to get done on a specific day, and then things that needed to get done during a week were here, and then some staff that I work with over here. And I used this setup for work for about, longer than a month and a half, because I actually started using it in December. Mid-December maybe? Looks like mid-December. And then all through December, the holiday week, and then starting off here, January. I feel like into mid-February I was using it fairly regularly, although I think there's not as much detail on here, so maybe this week in February I stopped. Same thing for this. I think I only used this for about 5-6 weeks. There were some things that worked about it, but I think I really did struggle not being able to see how much time I had in a day left after everything was booked to try and figure out when I was going to get all this stuff done. So especially for at home, when you're at work for 8.5-9 hours a day, when you include the commute, there's not a whole lot of extra time to get stuff done in the evenings and the mornings. So I stopped using that in mid-February, and then same thing I think for this one. And what I replaced it with is, I really love a weekly view. I don't do well with the daily. I've tried it a few times now. I continue to try it, and it's crazy. So in mid-February, I had received these. I had ordered them in January, but they took quite some time to arrive because I ordered them from Franklin, Japan. And what these are is Franklin, Japan Universal Compact Inserts, week on 4 pages. This is what the month looks like. It's a nice blue and gray print on a very smooth paper. It's got the laminated tab, and it's a Monday through Sunday week view. And then the weekly, and then there's personal and business monthly goals. I did not use them in the time period that I had this planner. So mid-February, I backfilled January just because I wanted to make sure these inserts would work. That's what I typically do when I get a new setup. And then mid-February, I moved in. The way Franklin Covey does their weeklies is there's a page for weekly tasks. There's the week view itself, which is a Monday through Sunday. Saturday and Sunday have to share an area, both for the tasks and for the timing. This was an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. view. Where I struggled with it is it's in 24-hour block time, not 12-hour block time. And so I'm always mentally calculating what these times are. That's like a little extra friction point for me. And then on the back, there's a notes section. And I used these through the end of March. There was a lot to like about them, but I still felt very squished. And I believe I was only using these for my schedule, my dated tasks for work, my untimed tasks I was keeping in a notebook, and then personal tasks. And so there were some things that worked and there were some things that didn't. I struggled with how small the lines were. My handwriting's naturally large. And I just really decided that splitting off work wasn't necessarily working for me. Some of those undated tasks just weren't getting done. They were set off in a separate area and I just wasn't getting it done. Personally, though, these worked pretty well at the time, and maybe I'll consider trying them again. So then in March, I decided to move up to A5 and designed my own inserts. And I backfilled because it was only March and I'm crazy. So I created a Monday through Sunday month view on my own grid design paper. I also created a little bill pay area over here that I thought was useful. And then projects for personal and work rather than master task list. And then my weekly view is what was most unique. I had a notes area on this front page, a Monday through Friday week view with task area over here and some routines that I didn't quite use effectively, and then Saturday and Sunday together. And I used this setup for basically through the end of June, I think. Pretty much through the end of June. And there was a lot to like about it. I carried it in a very slender Filofax Boston A5. But summer hit and things are a little lighter in summer, and I think I kind of resented carrying around that big honking thing in the summer when you want to carry a smaller purse, and I don't know what really kind of led me off track in the summer. I know I was still struggling with work tasks at this point in time, and about mid-July I made the decision to move work completely electronic for task management. I purchased an app. I tried out a few apps, but I purchased an app called Todoist, and I've been using that since last July fairly successfully. Most of the lack of success is sometimes my lack of discipline. It's not anything to do with the app and its inability to organize. It's more my sometimes making things overly complicated, or sometimes just not going in and looking at it, which is my fault. So I stopped using this weekly view. I went back to it a couple of times. I tried it in a spiral bound notebook. I think for the last half of the year, I put August through December monthlies in a spiral and used that for a little while. And I liked having a monthly view, a larger monthly view. It's the daily view that I didn't really need that much space. So over the summer, I played around a lot. I did hand-drawn. Let's see, these are mostly lists that I carried over here. Hand-drawn pages in August. Oh, I forgot what I also did in July. We took a vacation in July, and I went back to this little mini moleskin, and then the week that we were on our trip, I used this to kind of plan out what we were going to do and then note where we ate and what we did for the day. And then I created daily pages to create notes of what it was we did. And then they're not in here anymore because they're in my mini pocket, but all my packing lists, all the sort of notes that you take when you're on vacation about how to do this better next time, those are in pocket size, and I'm going to continue that. I bought Filofax weekend 2-page pages that I'm going to use for when we go on trips and vacations, because I love that particular binder and it worked really well on vacation. So hand-drawn weeklies. Then I decided to try making my own weekly. So then I had this little layout here where Monday through Sunday here, and then I had a blank page. I think I was inserting daily handwritten pages, and then I played around with this layout. So this was personal for the months of mid-August through I think the end of September maybe. I'm not sure. I don't think I really quite used it very much. And I think this was originally compact size and I trimmed them down to personal size. I think I went back and forth. Then I went back to something I did in 2014. In 2014 I started off the year printing out from iCal. iCal does have printing capabilities. It can print this page if you choose daily and you print it in compact size. It will not print personal. So I printed in compact and then chopped off the extra over here in the middle. And then I inserted a blank grid page, and I didn't use it. I don't know what possessed me. I did all this work chopping them and whatever, and I didn't end up using it. And then I did nothing for a couple of weeks because I was frustrated, and so I placed an order. I decided I need to go back to a big one, and doing A5 was a bit of a pain, and I had sold my A5 binder. So I went out and bought a Franklin Covey Giada binder in classic size. Now, I have not used classic size in years. I've tried it off and on, and I've struggled with that size. I don't love the 7-ring configuration. I think it's ugly. It's an aesthetic thing for me. So I went out and bought the July through June in monthly tabs. And there were no daily. I decided I wanted daily pages. I'm still not even sure what possessed me to do that. But I decided I wanted daily pages, day on one page. And so I bought Daytimer July through June because that was all that was available. Franklin Covey didn't have any daily pages in stock. And I used these actually all through the end of October. I really kind of disciplined myself and said, suck it up and do it. So here's my monthly tips. This is why I have a hard time going into a compact monthly. This is what my month looks like. Let's see here. So yeah, I use these daily pages really quite successfully. Well, somewhat successfully through all of November. I really struggled with them in December. The end of every quarter is an incredibly busy time for me at work, and I don't crack open my personal planner as much. I struggled with this size. I struggled finding a home for a binder this big on my desk at work, my desk at home. Completed under chaos in this month, and so I really didn't use it. And I start off okay in the beginning of the month, but as the month goes on, it gets crazy. On the other hand, I really loved being able to just chop and punch handouts from school, handouts from my daughter's gym. It was so nice to just be able to be like, oh, here's that thing to remind me. So then I thought, I should go back to a weekly. So in the middle of December, when I got a lot going on, I went back and I took my old A5 design and I resized it for classic, which was a little complicated. The layout I had chosen does not come up high enough. And so I had to futz with it a little and put that little blue bar up and whatever. So I went back to this look and I mapped out my schedule, but I never found time to put my tasks in here. And so it really didn't get used as effectively as it could have. So I went back to the daily pages, but I really wasn't using them. I mean, you see I'm not writing much in the way of notes here. I had a good day, so I managed it on this day, but then I didn't do anything the next day. And then I felt bad, so then over the holiday break, after I didn't really use it for a few days, but that's no big surprise, I wasn't even home, I went back to trying to be good at the end of the year. And so I was pretty good, except for this last day. So that's what I've used for the year. I stayed in ring binder for most of the year, other than that, playing around in the Moleskine, both the little mini and this one. So I think ring binders do or can work for me as long as I use very small rings and a very slender profile binder. But I think I really need a weekly view. And so for 2016, I've already gone back and tweaked further that week view that I messed around with in the middle of December. Where did that go? It's in here somewhere. There it is. I'm already tweaking this further to fix some things that drove me a little crazy the first time around. I'm getting rid of this routines thing. I've put some column dividers so there's a clear delineation between the days. And I really didn't use this notes section in any of the time that I used it. So I've made this a task area because this task area during the week often gets a little too tight. And then I usually don't effectively use this space. So I'm going to try that out for the beginning of 2016. I have day on one page in reserve. But I'm kind of hoping to stick with weekly. So that's my summary of 2015. Hopefully it will help someone, and hopefully it will help remind me in future years. I've found recording these videos can be quite helpful when I decide to go back to a system I've used before, and then I go back to the video and go, what am I thinking? Because it was clear it didn't work that last time around. I kind of forget the details when I'm just looking at the pages. You know, having this verbal reminder of the things that worked and didn't work has been helpful. So thank you so much for watching, and take care. Happy 2016.